Thank you all so very much for helping me pass this milestone. I want to take this time to reflect and also answer some questions. I never made this public before, but I had a goal for subscribers. I didn't want to make it public in case, well, I didn't meet that goal. Last year, my target was 1,000 subscribers, and I smashed that goal. For this year, my target was to add an extra 0 to that number. I aimed for 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. As you can see, I certainly made that target. Thank you all so very much for the support and the enthusiasm. My favorite thing is when people say they went back and watched my past few videos after watching a video they liked. I really appreciate that. Now, I told you my goal for last year and this year. I guess I may as well share my goal for next year. My goal for each year was to multiply my count by 10, add on an extra 0 at the end. Well, that's my goal for next year. 100,000. I know it's kinda ridiculous. I know that previous trend can't continue forever. It's just impossible. But what I need is to be ambitious, to increase the scope of my milestones, to really push myself into something ridiculous, to something absurd. My chance of hitting this next target is significantly lower than any of my previous targets, but I want something crazy to motivate me, a little cuckoo, slightly nuts. So let's look back at some of my biggest fails before answering some of your questions. When I started out, I had a terrible mic. I actually went between a few different setups, using my phone, using a cheap gaming headset, using a microphone that was somehow worse than the phone. My best decision was investing in a quality microphone. If I were to start over, I'd definitely invest from the beginning to make all my videos of a consistent quality. My investment in the microphone has certainly paid off. Also, the background music being way too loud. What about that time I thought Destiny was going to end at Lightfall? To be fair, I still maintain that that was their plan at some point. I did also predict that they'd revive Aldrin as Crow and that we'd fight Savathun in the Witch Queen. So, it's not a complete L. I presented the theory at one point that games have huge storage size in order to monopolize space on the player's hardware. While I'm certain it may have crossed the minds of publishers and developers at some point, I think there are far more feasible explanations, like the demand for better graphics in games, as well as in-game cosmetics. Not to mention I zoomed in on video memory when talking about RAM. I experimented with long videos with Halo 2 versus Half-Life 2. It isn't really worth it. It just takes way too long to make these videos for little payoff. Also, apparently the Combine saw their beginnings in Mark Laidlaw's pre-Half-Life books. I also missed a lot of the more complex behavior of the Combine. That video on Doom. Overall, I still felt it was a good video, but I got some things wrong. A big issue with BSP is the problem of BSP holes that occur as maps get more complex. This was an issue with Unreal Tournament mappers, apparently, where holes would form in the geometry. Also, it was actually Romero that got locked inside. And Doom didn't use affine texture mapping. What a complete and utter fool I am. What idiot doesn't know that? Affine texture mapping means the surfaces are made of triangles. Carmack hated affine texture mapping, and the perspective projection in Doom was not the result of affine texture mapping. This video was almost like a research project to me, presenting a new idea in depth to almost teach myself. Although I try to research and get things right, I don't mind it when I get things wrong. So feel free to come in and correct any points I made. I also made a mistake criticizing Destiny 2, without realizing it is actually the best aim. Obviously, control-based spawns, they don't apply to rockets and gravity hammers. My thoughts now on control-based spawns I would say are fairly clear, and I think now it's just a case of wait and see. I still anticipate the point where people actually start realizing what control-based spawns are and people actually start talking about it. Also, sometimes the point in these videos can get kind of muddy. The vehicles are actually very strong in Halo 5, they're just weaker relative to everything else. I did clarify this at a later point. So there you go, I probably missed some things, but my point is, you can't get everything right. I'd rather make a compelling video that's contentious than a boring one that gets 98% upvote rate. Now, onto the questions. First of all, the question everybody asked, are you actually shredded? Well, kind of. Not so much in the past year due to being in the most lockdown city in the world. As it turns out, the public health mandates haven't really been so great for my health. But I'm finally able to start getting back into the gym after a long lockdown. That also raises the question, why are you called Shredded Nerd? Is it about you being shredded? What is the inspiration for the name of the channel? This is something I actually wanted to explain. It actually has nothing to do with being shredded. It's actually years ago there was a dude that went by Shredder, and I know, just thought that was kind of funny. And whenever, Shredder, whenever he rolled you, it means you got shredded. Around the same time, we were calling each other nerd as a kind of term of endearment. Either that or it just meant you were an average pleb, like an average nerd. So a shredded nerd is just an average nerd after Shredder's sorted him out. It was a name I kind of just thought up on the spot. Or well, rather, I didn't really put any thought into it at all. It was just basically putting two random words together because I thought it sounded funny at the time, not really thinking about how it would last, what kind of staying power it has, how memorable it is, and how it would work as a YouTube channel name. It's a similar process to the origin of the Nerd Army. I think I just said that off the cuff in one of my videos, and I guess it was kind of funny, so it kind of stuck. So that's how you guys became the Nerd Army. Favorite type of cheese? Shredded, of course. Who were your biggest influences? For me, I really enjoyed B. Dobbins. He's pretty good for a dirty communist. I also enjoyed Favin regarding Halo. I also enjoyed Total Biscuit back in the day for his basically tearing apart poor PC graphical settings. But I got the inspiration to do YouTube basically because I enjoyed watching YouTube, and I thought I had ideas to put out there that no one else was really saying. There were almost a kind of frustration that people out there were missing a lot of things, and we lacked a truly critical eye, How about how long it took to grow my channel, and were there any points that I almost gave up? Well, to be honest, I started properly, basically following the original Craig demo. I made a video following that because I saw it and, I kind of wanted to give my own 2 cents on that. I think I had a kind of insight that I wasn't seeing from anyone else, and that video did fairly well, at least for me. It got about 26,000 views at the time. So I saw the views I got in that and decided that it was a path worth pursuing and something I wanted to keep doing because I enjoyed it and I enjoyed the discussion I saw that arose from it. And yeah, in terms of how long it took to grow, again, I started properly around that time and my goal was to hit around 1,000, and then for this year it was around 10,000, so that's what I did properly. Although, like I said, my channel's been around since 2011 and I do have some videos from before then, but I wasn't really doing it properly. Those were just kind of one-off things, just for fun basically. Although I would say making those videos back then did teach me a fair bit about actually creating videos. And I made those fails back then so I can actually do something of quality now. And about periods where I almost gave up, I'd say around the time I was doing that Halo 2 versus Half-Life 2, I was working at the time. That was a really long video and I didn't know if I could get it out. I didn't know if it was worth continuing. I actually got a lot of inspiration when I went back in the office and I was basically like, I can't be a wage cuck my whole life. I gotta get out of here. And is it something I'd continue as a career? I'd say certainly. I'd certainly prefer YouTube over working in an office, but at the same time, there's always an appeal to being at the cutting edge, to kind of be successful. But at the end of the day, it still beats filling in Excel documents. And YouTube is something I plan to continue in the near future. Was it ever overwhelming making videos going against the consensus? To be honest, sometimes when you see a lot of dislikes on a video and you see it's contentious, you do get worried about it and you do wonder whether you're on the right path, but over time, you just kind of get used to it. And I think if you take a critical eye and you look at specifically why people are doing that, how people are interacting with your video and what they're doing, you start to worry less. And at the same time, you kind of get desensitized to it. To be honest, I really don't care about just internet points. I just make these videos for fun because I find them interesting to make and I find the comments and the responses interesting. I'd rather my videos be contentious and interesting than, be safe and family friendly and be universally loved. Will I make more marathon videos or videos on Myth or other Bungie games? I very much do plan to do that at one point. I don't have any in the vault, and to be honest, the ones that are present on my channel from years ago are pretty bad. I do certainly plan to do a better one, and I think by now I'm going to have a more sophisticated opinion on it, and I certainly plan to do a marathon video at some point, hopefully soon, perhaps, depending on the amount of demand there is for it, although I saw quite a few questions asking about it, so maybe there is. I think it's almost like a game that people don't really talk about much, so I think people are just interested in hearing what it is. And favorite Halo mechanic that deserves more attention? Probably the momentum and like the physics. I think it's something that Halo Infinite kind of lacks in terms of the player movement. It's kind of a thing where you know it when you see it. What's my favorite album? I'd say Selling England by the Pound by Genesis. Are you thinking of ever doing videos about fine art? To be honest, at some point, I'd love to. I'm not sure how much of an appetite there is for that among my audience. I should probably try it one day, and if it gets any views, I might continue doing it. I think maybe a first video about H.R. Geiger or something like that would work. And that also brings up another point of non-Halo videos. I want to establish that I kind of want to make videos on basically everything, specifically games and maybe tech. And don't worry about me ever abandoning Halo. Trust me, with Halo Infinite coming out, I'm still going to be making a ton of Halo videos. Like when you see people like Luke the Notable who get tens of millions of views from little kids by making Minecraft videos, still go back and make Halo videos, you can trust that I am never going to drop Halo. But at the same time, I still want to make videos on a broader range of topics that I'm interested in. Is Deep Rock Galactic a good game? I'm going to be honest, I haven't played it, but I heard it's fun with friends, so maybe I should play it. Will I make a video on Dusk? Again, I haven't played Dusk, but it is on my list. Why is it that top Halo influencers always hold back on their criticism? I think it's because being positive and kind of stifling any criticism, it just does better on the algorithm. You get more likes, you tend to do better, you tend to get more views. I've definitely seen that with my videos. What is your overall opinion on the Halo Infinite maps? I think Behemoth is pretty good, Bazaar and Livefire not so great. My favourite ODST design, gotta be The Rookie. Favourite Halo soundtrack, gotta be Halo 2. With my favourite track being Walk in the Woods. Favourite game, Halo 3. Favourite type of history, gotta be Australian history. What's your personal history with Halo? For me, I actually started in 2009, which is why a lot of these posts that preface that they're a Halo veteran, I don't really care about them at all. What made me a fan was, well, the game's fun. I played it with friends in split screen and I enjoyed it. Favorite franchises, Age of Empires, I always enjoyed Borderlands, Halo obviously, Elder Scrolls, always loved Jak and Daxter. Favorite movies? My favorite movie is probably Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. How do you get good? Well, I'm flattered that you think I'm good, but I think the answer is just play a lot, like a lot. In terms of time and also playing a lot over a long time, consistently. Have you ever thought about doing a machinima? I did one, it's private. Apparently the cinematography was not bad, but the voice acting was very cringe. A message for the future Halo Infinite kids? I'd say always go back and play the classics. Try to understand them, there's a reason why people love them. You can look past just the superficial mechanics. Would you classify Halo's fanbase as bad? And has the fanbase positively affected the game? I'd say I wouldn't classify the fanbase as bad. I think at a certain point all fanbases are the same. Like there's always going to be critical people. I'm not in the camp that thinks, you know, a aggressive or quote unquote toxic fanbase is really going to destroy a game. Although I think you can say they have had a positive influence specifically on Forge and custom games, so you can say that's quite good. If you're just looking at the community features like Forge, Halo has quite a good community. Should 3433i add Big Chunga-sama in Halo Infinite? Absolutely, but at the same time I think it might be too lore-friendly for 343. Do you have a favourite beer? Well, it depends on the mood, honestly. Best value for money, probably Aldi's Rivets. For a hard-earned thirst, nothing beats VB. And of course on St. Patrick's Day you gotta have Guinness. Favourite Halo mission and why? The Covenant, because of the broad range of encounters, and 2 Scarabs. If you had to marry one of the Bog brothers, which would it be? Well, I don't like that you say had to, as if I wouldn't choose to. But I'd have to go for Igor, because I mean, just look at those lips. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? Well, what do you mean, an African or European swallow? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Is the cake a lie? Epic gamer reference there, sir. Do you think Halo Infinite's campaign will be any good from the narrative side of things? I actually like that they're introducing new villains and new characters and a new enemy faction. Would I be against a crossover? Certainly not. I'd love to collaborate with other channels if that's what you meant. What was the first video game I played? For me it's probably Croc on Windows 98. What state am I from? From Victoria? How much Vegemite do I consume? I would say about 2 cups with every meal. If you could tell 343 one piece of advice when making a Halo game, what would it be? If I were running 343 back then, I would have said, start with the basics, see if you can nail a Halo game before going on to innovate. Also, I'd say add more verticality and more open sightlines, and also boat combat. Would you consider collaborating with other creators like Favin or Fringy and discuss Halo or media in general? I'd absolutely love to, if any other creators are open to that. What excites you most about gaming's future? I'm gonna say when they have those eyeglasses and the wires that plug directly into your head and stream games directly into your brain. If you could tell every diehard 343 fan one thing, what would it be? I don't think there are any diehard 343 fans, to be honest. I think there are just people who are naive about every new Halo that comes out. What are my thoughts on Battlefield, specifically Battlefield 1? I enjoy Battlefield quite a lot actually, well Battlefield 3 and 4 actually. Somehow, despite that, I've actually missed Battlefield 1, I've never played it. I do have it on Steam, so I should probably install it right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a gamer chud are you? I'm gonna say 10. Would you say not showing the horrors of the Covenant and going for a teen rating is going to hurt openness and creativity? I'd say probably yes, especially depicting the Flood and the kind of horror that's supposed to arise from that. I'm not sure whether or not there was pressure for them to go for a teen rating, but it sounds like it'll be a limit on their creativity. I think they should try to push a bit further than they are now at least. Which game, not Halo, has your favourite soundtrack and why? I'm probably going to say Payday 2 because it can be so action-packed and percussion-driven, but at the same time, it can switch between that and stylish. And it envelops quite a broad range of different musical styles, and I think it pulls them all off quite well. Also, mint or peanut butter with chocolate? For me, probably mint. What is your favourite weapons platform? The Mongoose, of course. What is your favourite ship in Halo or other games? Probably Pillar of Autumn, because I mean, just listen to that name. A close contender is Shadow of Intent. Have you played Halo Wars? A few people ask this, and yes, I have played Halo Wars, and I think Halo Wars is quite a good game. I enjoy RTS, and I think in terms of Halo Wars, it is kind of Babby's first RTS. It is a bit simple, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think shorter games aren't necessarily a bad thing at all. I think it doesn't quite stack up to say Age of Empires 2, but still a very solid game. If you guys want a video on it, let me know. Do you think Halo will ever get back on track? Well, obviously we'll have to see with Halo Infinite. I don't think there's really a choice at this point. How long is Halo Infinite going to last? I reckon they'll last through the 10 years they plan. Like if Halo 5 lasted 6 years, then I reckon they'll keep up with Halo Infinite. Thoughts on the caddy as helmet attachment in Infinite? I think it's kawaii as fuck. How can 343 make fighting the Flood and Prometheans more fun? Prometheans? Just cut them. Flood? I'd say start from where you were in Halo 3. Add those Flood juggernauts, and also reduce the speed of those Flood shooting projectile things. I would say by Halo 3 the Flood were actually pretty fun to fight. Favorite genres and top 5 games? I'd say my favorite genre is probably FPS, RPG, and RTS. Top 5 games in no order, probably Halo 3, Morrowind, Age of Empires 2, maybe Borderlands 2, and System Shock 2. Best level in Halo and why is it the library? Unironically, I think the library is actually one of the best concepts for a level, and I think you could actually, if it were redone by some talented group, it could actually become quite a good level. What is the Fallout the Frontier of Halo in your eyes? I don't think Halo modding is really big enough that we have an equivalent to Fallout the Frontier. I don't think the community's been around long enough that an event of that scale has happened yet. But this guy probably said it best, the closest thing we have to it is SPV3. And I mean, with the kitchen sink game design approach and the Gravemind incest terminal, it is a bit questionable, but certainly not the Frontier level. What is the best board and why is it TV? It's Quay though. What's your favorite Elite Scream? Yeah, to be honest, my favorite is probably... Do you like Star Wars? Yeah, I do. I'm not a super huge fan, but you know, I've watched all the movies and I enjoy them. Except I haven't watched episode 8 or 9 because everyone tells me they're garbage. What are your thoughts on Dark Souls? Played them all and I enjoyed them a lot. I do think the storytelling isn't quite as good as a lot of people let on though. What's your least favourite Halo game? Probably gotta be Halo 4. What did you think when Spot'em Got'em went and linked up with Pooh Shiesty? Honestly, need it. Are you gonna do a Nekapara review? That's for 100,000 subs. Face reveal. I was thinking of doing it, but not quite yet. Those the Eok rap go hard. Yes. Will you remember me when you have 10,001 subscribers? I know it's been a long journey, but Mars Murderer, I will remember you. So anyway, thank you all so much for all these questions, and I couldn't get around to all of them because there were just so many. Thanks for all the support and cheers to the next year. Thank you and goodbye.